My Ron Drake.
Oh, hello, friends. Thanks for tuning in to Perry Live with Ron Drake. I'm excited to be here today and talk to you a little bit about what's going on. We have a special guest today, and I actually have a very special co-host today, Kayla Schrum. Thanks for being on with me today.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. So, you're going to learn some things. Typically, when Kayla's on with me, it's because we actually have another guest as well.
I'm just a placeholder.
That's right.
That's my only job.
We have two stools.
Yes.
We got to make sure both the stools are being used at all times.
Holding the place.
Right. So today I've got a guest that I'll introduce in a few minutes. It's in another community that I'm working in to kind of share some things to kind of inspire you, inspire the folks in Perry, I hope. But first we just thought we'd talk. Kayla. We've been talking, Kayla and I work a lot together, and I really personally appreciate it. I want to tell all of you how much I appreciate Kayla and Main Street and the Main Street Board, your help and cooperation with my job here. And so, kind of, quickly, I guess, how do you feel like the vibe is in Perry right now? How do you feel? I'm only here 3 days a week. I might be a little bit skewed because I'm in individual meetings with people that want to meet about different things. But when I'm not here, and how's it just feel living in Perry right now?
Well, thank you for what all you've done for our board and for Main Street. It's been a lot more positive. Everything's been more positive on social media, on meetings. We had a super successful board meeting last week. We're planning and looking forward to all the things coming up this spring and this summer, our Mingle on Mains golf tournament, our meeting next week.
Yeah. Do you think there was any relationship that you had your best board meeting ever last week, and that was the one that I've missed, the first one I missed in the past 6 months?
I wasn't going to mention that. I was going to point that out.
Okay, so we see how this goes.
It was a great meeting, though. Very productive meeting.
So speaking of positive posts, the Positive Perry post of the week on Facebook goes to Sherry D. Toon. Sherry D., thank you for a very positive post. That's kind of the what's going on in Perry, or what's that Facebook page called?
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it in Perry, or something like that. Anyway, it's a local Perry.
Let's talk and discuss.
Yeah, the local Perry Facebook page, which oftentimes can become a little bit of a gripe session. And so, very thankful. Kayla pointed out to me about Sherry D's very positive post.
And it's so nice. It's so nice knowing, working on it on the other side.
Yeah.
Some people don't always see everything that's going on behind the scenes, and she did a great job on pointing that out and just being positive. Such a breath of fresh air.
And so, speaking of what's going on behind the scenes, I want to quickly invite all of you next Thursday, 1 week from today, 6 o'clock, at the Heritage Center, and I'd like to invite you to come and learn about what's going on. And we specifically want to invite, we want to invite everybody, but we really would love to see contractors, subcontractors, building owners, business owners, anybody that might want to be a part of this revitalization effort. We want you to learn about some of the great and exciting and positive things that's happening right here at City Hall, right? We got to experience even just a little bit yesterday, and we'll get into that today, but just there's a lot of great things going on, and if you've had, frustrations or whatever in the past, or maybe you just heard rumors, or, it's just all of these things. All right, that's all behind us. Today's a new day, and we're going to share. We have special guests for that, and we have city representation. We're going to have a few snacks, and so 6 o'clock next week at the Heritage Center. We really need you and want you to come. And then you'll leave spreading the word about the exciting things that's happening in Perry and why this is the new developer-friendly Perry. Right? Is that a good way to put it?
Continue the positivity.
Right. Okay, so our special guest today. As many of you know, that I work in different communities. I work a lot in Oklahoma. I mean, it makes sense. I'm from Arkansas. Oklahoma is my neighbor. And one town, it's just an hour and a half or hour and 15 from my house that I've been to many times before I started working there just because I was driving through it, is Muskogee, Oklahoma. And I've been in Muskogee, Oklahoma for 18 months now, and I've gotten to know a lot of people. My time is almost up in Muskogee. And just, contracts, they run out. And so during this time, I've really gotten to know some good people and become good friends. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a good friend of mine, Margaret Hess, did a Skype call in, if you remember. It was last time, Kayla, you helped me.
Hold the place down.
Hold the place down, keep the table
Placeholder.
from being imbalanced. And so this week I have a good friend of mine, Lex Kadich from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Hey Lex, good to see you.
Hey.
Welcome to Perry Live. Sorry for making you sit there for 5 minutes quiet.
That's all right.
I'm sure that was a challenge.
It was.
Okay, so and honestly, we were hoping for your wife as well, Stephanie, but she she had to work. She has things to do, and so since you don't apparently have to work, so Lex, tell us a little bit about yourself and there in Muskogee and your wife and kids and what you do and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm from Spokane, Washington area, Eastern Washington, and I'm from Washington State. Just happen to be wearing the shirt today.
Okay.
But Steph, she's from Muskogee, born and raised, third or fourth generation family, and we met in Texas of all places. And long story short, we fell in love, and she moved to Washington. We were up there for 7 or so years, and then we ended up moving down to Muskogee so she could learn the family business of real estate appraisals, and that's what brought us here. And we've got 2 kids, a 2 and a 5-year-old, and we're pretty active in the community and doing some things, and which is kind of obviously how it led into you and I meeting. So.
Right. And you guys also have a daycare.
We do.
Right.
Yep. We have a large daycare in town that she runs, and takes a lot of her time. So, but it's fun. It's no bad days at the daycare. Boy, if you want to feel better, go in there, and those kids, they just put a smile on your face. So it's cool. That's kind of what helped us kind of get going in the town, and from there we just obviously we enjoy the town, and she loves. Born and raised here. She's a big Muskogee advocate, so which is good.
Yeah. Well, and lately you've really been a big Muskogee advocate as well, and I appreciate that. See you at City Hall, City Council meetings, and yesterday when you and I were on the phone talking or texting about something else, you're like, oh, the mayor's calling me. I mean, so you're a pretty connected guy in Muskogee.
But well, if you're gonna make change, you gotta talk to. You got to find out what's really going on, right?
Right. Well, another thing I appreciate I'll get started. You can't see this, Lex, but Tyson has a couple of pictures. If you can remember, Lex, it's been probably now 3 years ago or so when you and Craig, your partner from Canada, we'll talk a little bit about, I'm sure, on the show, came to Okmulgee where I was working then, and kind of was trying to help bring me to Muskogee. And then there was another picture where we got together. You're going to laugh when you see this later on Facebook Live. But the 3 of us, we really became friends pretty quickly. And so really
I'm
because
a little nervous about these pictures.
So yeah, just, I found that, I honestly found that randomly today looking through some pictures. So I was like, hey, it's meant
I've got
to
a
be.
few I could share if they could put them up on my screen.
So thank you for your work, though, honestly, even back 3 years ago, before you even knew what you were going to be doing today, and which we're going to talk about. Thank you for kind of bringing me in, or I'd say you guys were pretty instrumental in, with the mayor, actually, Bob Coburn, of saying we need Ron and Muskogee, and I appreciate that. So Kayla, do you have a question for Lex today?
I just want to know, what has your experience been like working with Ron? And if you had any advice for me, because I need it.
Well, how long's the show? You know what's kind of funny when Ron came to town the first time and we saw him and he's wearing his wife's jeans and I don't know what else he had on, but, no, we really liked Ron. We thought that Ron's you could tell he knew what he was talking about. So Craig and I, we were kind of, if you remember, we said, well, why don't you stick around? Let's go have a beer and maybe talk. Yeah. And there wasn't really anywhere to go.
Right.
So we went to Miss Addie's, I think, for lunch. And then you took off, and we stewed around. We were going to go to Tulsa, and I got on the map. And I was like, where's Okmulgee? Because I had just moved here not too long before that. And we said, Leanne, get us Ron's cell. We called him. We said, hey, we're coming to Okmulgee. And you were probably like, huh? Who? The Canadian and the guy from Washington? Okay, all right. And so that really is what gave us the whole, where we met Ron, and we said, okay, this guy really cares. And so it wasn't about, hey, I'm here just to take people's money and kind of tell them what to do. I mean, he truly cares. And for us, we both, we felt that immediately, okay, Ron's putting some very personal interest in this. And so then it just became question after question after question. I think we closed the bar down.
Yeah, we did, actually. Yeah.
And then they were sweeping us out the door. It was one of those things that,
I think.
Yeah, literally, we were just like, hey, this guy's got knowledge. He cares. Let's figure something out. So early on, we asked probably more questions. I don't know if we have asked more questions than you ever get, but it seemed like a lot. And we said, okay, we've got to figure out a way to get Ron to Muskogee. And that's when I started kind of talking to different city, councilors and the mayor, saying, hey, for what we're trying to do, Ron can really help us. And so we were pushing from that perspective. So as far as working with Ron from day one, even before you were employed by the city,
right?
Ron's been helping us. And I'll call him on a Saturday, a Sunday. I don't know if you want people to know that.
Can you stop doing that, please?
So, but it's one of those things.
No, I know, right? We just become friends, and right.
Yeah, and he's been a huge help for us, and because of that, my wife and I thought, you know what? We've got somebody to help us in our corner, kind of looking over our shoulder a little bit. We felt a little bit more easy to take risk because, I'll bounce stuff off Ron before I buy a building. Every time, any building that my wife and I have purchased, I've called Ron many times before we've actually purchased it to say, hey, can you meet me there, walk me through it, and see if there's anything I'm missing? Because I'm not a developer
right.
by trade. I'm not. I worked construction, so I understand certain things, but it's just a different animal when you're trying to figure out how to flip a building, or not flip it, but renovate
it,
create that vibrancy, but also save money, because I'm sure Perry's no different than any other small community is. We've got to fight and claw and save every penny we can, so that whatever business goes in so everybody can make money.
Right.
Everybody's got to make a profit, otherwise it doesn't work, right?
Right.
And Ron has really helped us from the perspective of getting a little bit more of that, taking away more of that, that risk that you get. That's kind of, when you're trying to buy something, you're going, God, I don't know if I should do this. And, and so far, I'm going to knock on some wood. So far, Ron's advice has been good.
Well, the reason it is because I've made every potential mistake out there, every possible mistake. I've screwed up every time. So I keep telling you, don't do that, Lex. I did that, and it was a total mess up. So do it this way; it'll work better.
Yeah.
So I appreciate really all that, but this is more. I want this from here on out. Then I know Kayla was like, okay, really, how'd you put up with Ron? But so at this time, a couple of years ago, you and Craig that we showed, which is a partner from Canada, we could have a whole show on that. It's pretty cool, your relationship with you're actually building even more relationships and things, but your partnership, Muskogee Vision Partners, with Craig and Drew, which I didn't have a picture of Drew. Drew wasn't here on that time. But at that time, you guys owned 2 buildings, all right? So now, just 2 or 3 years later, how many buildings do you and Stephanie own, and kind of, what are you doing with them, that kind of thing?
So my Canadian partners and I and Steph, we own 2 buildings together, and they're doing some other things too outside of Muskogee. But
Right.
Stephanie and I, we kind of caught the buzz. Obviously when we met Ron and really said, how do we help make a difference in our own community? Because it was almost like nobody was really doing anything.
Right.
So we started looking around, and we found some Stephanie, actually my wife, found some buildings that she really liked, and said, hey, do you think we could figure out a way to buy these? And we got real creative, and we made an offer. And we made an offer on 2 buildings that were side by side, and it took a few months, but we got it figured out and got it closed, and that was pretty exciting. And then then we moved on to another building in another area of downtown, and we finally closed on it recently, and we've got our eyes on a couple more. And it's one of those things that I don't know if they say where there's a will, there's a way, but you've also got to have some luck behind you and some good advice, obviously. So, for us, it was just, how do we make a difference? And we looked at it from the perspective of, if somebody's got to do it, we
Right.
can. And if we want to live in this community,
Right.
Sit
That's a good
back and
point.
let somebody else screw it up, possibly, or do we jump in and try to help? And one thing my wife is great at is she's got vision, like, to make things really cool, and so we thought, why not? So
Right. Yeah, and I do appreciate about that. I think that's probably, honestly, one of the things I'm kind of drawn to you and Stephanie is whenever we get together, we have good meetings, and I like that you're open to ideas, but also that you guys throw out really, really good ideas. And it's obvious that Stephanie's a smart one in the relationship, and the good looking one. So you touched on it a minute. I mean, why are you doing? I mean, so you're a businessman, and you're successful in what you do outside of downtown developing, which I appreciate too, because you're also a hard worker. I get that. So I know that these projects have to make money, like you said. You got to be affordable, but I mean, you could be doing a lot of other things. So why are you doing this downtown thing?
I think I would have never thought about it had I not met you, to be honest with you. I would have never. I mean, our plans for those buildings were totally different until we had that meeting with you. I mean, we weren't thinking loft apartments. We were thinking put the daycare in one of the buildings, and we were thinking a business space for a marketing company that I was partners with,
Right.
Craig and Drew on.
Right, I
mean,
remember
that's how
that.
it started. And then, after kind of seeing what you did at Siloam Springs and seeing what you were doing in Okmulgee, and we thought, you know what, a lot of people behind it that have been trying. I mean, the underlying message in Muskogee when we got here from day one was, we've been trying to revitalize downtown, and it was like it never got anywhere. It was like quicksand. It was just like constant, just nothing. And I heard so many times, it'll never happen from one side of the fence. The other side of the fence is like, well, we need to, or we're going to die, and all these things. And so we really just sat down and thought, you know what, was the first thing. Can we do something, like, affordably? That was the first question. And then secondly, it's like, do we have the time? And, my wife obviously has more time than I do to spend in town, because my job takes me, out of town a lot. And then we said, you know what, are we going to live here? Are we going to raise our family here? We got, 80 kids at our daycare. Are those kids going to grow up here? How do we make it better for our community? Yeah. And for us, it was kind of like, there's nothing to do downtown after 5. I say nothing. Let me loosely rephrase that. There's not much to do. Right. There's stuff to do, but not much to do downtown after 5. And there's not much for kids to community stuff. I mean, it was just one of those things that we really said, look, if we're going to live here, we're going to raise a family here. What do we want for our kids? Let's create that. Right. And that's kind of how it got started.
So what did you end up putting in your buildings?
So when we, again, Ron Drake, I hate to give him so much credit. I really do.
I'm going to cherish this video for a long time.
One great thing that is, I don't think you can put a price tag or a number on it, was I looked at these buildings and said, gosh, you have a million ideas, and you got such a cool building that you're going, we could do, there's probably 100 things I could name that could go into some of our buildings that would all be cool and successful. But it's like, how do you get from, like the B2B thing. How do I find out who's looking for this? Or a lot of people hold stuff close to heart, right? So they don't want to tell you, I'm putting in a bar, I'm putting in a snack shop, a candy store, cigar shop. Nobody wants to tell you that because they don't want you to steal your idea, right? What was so great about Ron was Ron became kind of that connection to where somebody would tell Ron, hey, I'm really thinking about doing a cigar bar. And Ron could pick up the phone and say, Lex, you need to meet so-and-so. I think, that could be cool for your space. And really, that's what happened. I mean, it was funny because the first business that went in one of our buildings is called the Rail Tap Room. Mm-hmm. And it's a craft beer and wine place to only do Oklahoma craft beers and wine. What was cool was I knew one of the guys pretty well, and I had no idea they wanted to do this, even though we were friends.
Yeah.
Ron said, you got to meet so-and-so. And as soon as he said his name, I said, oh, I know him. And I had no idea, but I may or may not. I mean, I would say we probably never would have connected, and that spot would have never happened without Ron kind of connecting the dots, basically. And then right after that, we got a burger joint going in, the building right next to it. Again, I had no idea who this guy was, never met him, never knew anything about him. And he'd been in Muskogee for a little over a year, and Ron said, you guys got to get together. He's got some really cool ideas. You've got some cool spaces. And now we've got 2 restaurants of his going in. I mean, it's just been one of those things that without Ron, I don't know that would have happened. At least it wouldn't have happened as quick, if at all. I mean, that's been good. I mean, I know, give him the guy. I know, pat him on the back.
keep going. We can hear this all day. We just expand the show to a 2-hour show. So
you're gonna have to expand the screen on his head. No, I'm just kidding. No, but in all seriousness, Ron, I don't know how you put a price tag on something like that. That's just, I really think that was kind of the catalyst for us to really give us that push.
So you have the tap room. You have what's the burger joint place is kind of cool name. I just heard it just the other day. It's
Dirty Burgers.
Dirty Burgers. Yeah, that's kind of fun. And then the rotisserie chicken, and you guys are looking at maybe a martini bar or something, or even, again, we shouldn't talk about too much because we don't have all this stuff finalized.
Now, there's ideas. There's some great ideas.
Some great ideas. So yeah, a lot of Lexs projects are still relatively, again, I've only been in Muskogee for a year and a half, so what can you really do in a year and a half? So,
especially when you have to buy a building.
Right.
I mean,
takes 30, 60 days to buy it, and then you got to get your plans and your architect if you're hiring one. And what's your favorite building, Lex? I think I know, but I'm
go ahead and say it. You know what it is.
I think your favorite's the Pepper.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a cute little charming building.
That is a cool building.
Yeah.
It's one of those buildings that it's like, that was our first purchase. We paid too much for it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, but now that it's done, now that it's done, I don't think so. But I mean, in the beginning, I thought, oh my gosh, what are we doing? It was an undertaking.
And it's all perspective, because when you told me how much you paid for it, I'm like, that's nothing compared to what I buy buildings for in Silo.
True.
And that building has so much charm. You know what's funny? You know what my favorite building is of yours?
The P&H?
No, I do love that building though.
That building is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which one?
The Rail Tap Room.
Oh yeah. Now. The way we built it out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I think it's because, and Kayla hears me say this a lot. So it's, go to Flip This Town, guys that are watching, or if you're watching it on Flip This Town, you can scan down through some of the pictures and the rail. I think what I like about it is because, quite honestly, those were 2 funky, some might even say ugly little buildings there. Mm-hmm. And they're not really historic.
Yeah.
They're like 1960s maybe. But the way you guys put the glass garage door in the front, which was your guys' idea, and and then we decided to paint both. There's 2 buildings side by side, and paint the chimneys red and make them bold statement, and just the fact that the rail is such simple construction with cinder block walls and a little, you know what I mean? It's just I think that they're my favorite, and because we were able to make one of the most vibrant places now in downtown Muskogee. The Rail Tap Room is killing it.
Yeah. It's a very cool place.
It's a cool place, right? Out of just simple construction, simple design. And so I think I love it from that aspect. But from the from beauty aspect, I love the pepper too. Pepper's cool.
The pepper, I'm an old soul, and I love the old look, and that's why I like the pepper. It just has a cool look to it.
Right, right. You have a last question? Or maybe it's not the last. Before we get, so Kayla's gonna ask the last question, and then we're gonna ask you 3 questions you have to answer to win a Perry Live with Ron Drake mug.
I've been asking for one.
Yeah. This is your chance. So.
What is the difference in the vibe maybe 3 years ago versus the vibe in downtown Muskogee now?
Night and day. Night and day. I mean, it's like somebody turned on the light switch. I mean, my opinion. It's there was about, I would say there was, let's just say a couple hundred. It probably wasn't even that many people really working hard. I mean, there was some amazing people that laid some serious groundwork for getting things to where they're at now, even before I got here. I mean, we came in, they had AIM Muskogee, Ann Ong, and there was another guy from one of the colleges in town. They pushed action in Muskogee, the Mayor Coburn. I mean, there was Leanne Langston.
Right.
There was a lot of people that really pushed hard, city council people, and they've done some amazing things. We just kind of took that wave that was starting and then jumped on it. So I would say, you know, once things started happening, then people started paying attention. And timing's everything, you know, and I think, you know, people were ready. I mean, people were ready to do something downtown, whether it's, you know, renovate a building or just come downtown and buy a beer. And I think that just the timing of everything was all the cool little shops we have. There's a, you know, bunch of little sandwich shops and things, you know, little coffee shops and stuff that are opening up more and more of them. And it's just, to me, it's just like somebody turned on the light switch, and now I think it's going to move pretty rapid, especially when some of these other restaurants open up. You're going to see a lot of change of downtown. Instead of seeing tumbleweeds roll through downtown, you're going to see people. I mean, that's literally that's the best way to put it.
Well, and once it gets going too, and you know, you guys, it's like, I like to use the analogy, it's like pushing a train. It is really hard to get that train going, but once it's going, you can't hardly stop it. And I think that train is rolling down the tracks.
I agree.
All right, Lex, thanks for being here. So here's, you know, your chance to win Perry Live with Ron Drake. So every morning you can see my name. Let's put this down.
You can wipe off the Ron Drake part, right?
So we've got 3 questions for you. You've got to answer them correctly to get the mug. All right?
Oh, man.
Okay, Kayla, you've got the first question. She's going to take it, you know, she doesn't know you. So she's going to take it easy on you a little bit more than I am.
Okay, good.
Okay, what's your favorite and least favorite part of being a downtown developer?
My favorite part, seeing the look on people's faces when you finish a building. I mean, and the response. You know, just like when we did the pepper, people were, when they finally, you know, because that's a building they've been staring at for 40 years that has, I mean, it had spider webs, and it was just a terrible looking space. And the response we got, that makes you feel good. I mean, it's like, you know, you accomplish something and people appreciate it. The worst favorite thing, I think, would probably be finding good, honest contractors that are going to do what they say they're going to do. That's something that we did struggle with on the first one. The rail was nice because by then we knew a couple guys, you know, but early on, I mean, that was a nightmare.
Yeah. And that's something ironically, at the beginning of the show, we talked about we're working on right now in Perry, and we're trying to recruit. So, you know, I learned too, Lex, from some of the challenges from Muskogee and whatever, and so we're going to try to, so we're actually working on that right now. Next week, we're going to have a meeting with contractors and things. So you're obviously a good salesman. You know, you're successful in your sales career.
What's my wife tells everybody. He said, get her. She said he was a good salesman.
Well, I'm going to prove why you're a good salesman here on my next question. But on this one, it's a little easier. What's your go-to sales pitch? What's your go-to sales pitch to seal the deal?
Let me tell you what it's not first, because it drives me nuts. Touching base. Get off the dang thing. touching base. I'm like, golly, I hate that. That's one thing I will never say. And if I do, I'm an idiot. But my go-to, you know what? I sell differently. I mean, it's ironically, my wife and I just had this conversation. I don't try to sell. I just try to find out, hey, what's the issue or the holdup or the whatever, and try to help them.
Right.
Because I always feel if you can help somebody and alleviate some sort of pain of some sort, they're going to trust you. And people only buy from people they trust typically.
Right.
So for me, it's more about just keeping integrity. I mean, so I don't know if there's a go-to thing. I mean, I guess I could hold their wife hostage or something and make them buy.
You could try it, you know, if times get tough. Yeah, I was in the construction during the recession, so I was pretty tempted to do things like that to build a house. Okay, so we did a quick flash. Now we'll put the picture back on. I apologize, Tyson, that was my bad. This is your wife, Stephanie, that we were hoping would be on the show. This is a couple years ago with you guys. So this is why I say, obviously, you're a good salesman, because somehow you sealed this deal. And which, you know, America is watching this saying, how did you do that? So what was your trick there?
Her vision is terrible.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's part of it. That's part of it.
Right. Yeah,
She's
we should
blind,
probably
deaf and mute. And I kept her drunk the whole time.
Yeah, she sobered up with a ring on her finger and was like, "Oh my gosh."
Now, like, you know, Stephanie, we're kind of one of those. It's not necessarily the opposites attract, but it's like, you know, where I'm strong, she's weak, and where she's weak, I'm strong, and we kind of really, you know, I get a little crazy with some of my ideas, and she, you know, hold on, bring it back. So, you know, we're just a good mix. So I think we help each other, you know, I guess best we can.
Well, obviously throughout the whole show I could tease you and tease you guys because we've become really good friends, and I do appreciate that. You know, I mean, when I'm working in a community, I can't help but become ingrained and dig in, and especially when I'm with, because you know what, Lex, I don't want you to lose money because then I feel bad, you know, right? Yeah. So I'm like, just like the other day when the contractor sent me the estimate on how much it's going to cost to do the P&H building, and I haven't even sent you that yet because I want to go through it and dig in, because I don't want to say, hey, this is good, and then you lose, you know, a couple $100,000 because somebody makes a mistake. So I just appreciate that kind of friendship that we have.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm bummed that Stephanie couldn't be here, but we'll have to do this again. This was a lot of fun, and maybe we could get you to Skype on location from the rail or from the Dirty Burger or something like that. That might be fun.
Actually, the rail would be cool as long as we can drink beer online while we're.
Yeah, I mean, I figured you're probably already drunk anyway. So. All right, Lex. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in Muskogee probably next week.
I want to come to Perry. I want to come check out Perry.
Yeah, you open invitation.
Kind of fun to walk through. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let me know. We'll make it happen.
All right, guys.
All right, buddy.
Thanks.
All right, so obviously we had some fun today, and I appreciate being able to bring some friends on. And I think the idea behind why I wanted to talk with Lex, and I'll be honest, it got a little bit more than what I was doing, and that wasn't my intention. I wanted the people of Perry to be inspired, and the people of Muskogee, and whoever's watching this anywhere across the country. We have people watching this from all over to see that restoration is possible.
Well, and he made two really, really good points.
Yeah.
The one about the people before him laying the really good foundation.
Yeah,
I think that was great that he mentioned that, because we do have that here in Perry. We have very successful people that have been downtown, and that, you know, we just recently had Craig, and, you know, we have Vicky at Thorns and the Macias, Marilee at the Comeback. And we do have those people that have laid a solid foundation. So him making that point was really good.
Well, that's a great point, because one of the things that is working really well in Muskogee, and we'd like to try to get, you know, continue to do here, and it started, and it is, I'm not saying it's not, but we probably could do better, is like if you talk to Alex Reynolds, who owns Max's Garage, and Max's Garage had been fighting and struggling and going and whatever in downtown Muskogee, because that was the only like restaurant downtown that's open late, so they had full bar and all that. Well, you know, he's excited about all this stuff happening, he's excited that 6 restaurants are opening up next to him. He knows that we need that.
Yep.
Right? And so
bring more people.
He's at every meeting, and he's helping lead the charge, because, you know, he laid that groundwork beforehand. And so
And the other point
Yeah.
that he made that I thought was really important and something that I know I've heard you say a lot and I have expressed a lot is if now isn't the time, then when will?
When is?
Yeah.
And so I know I always say this too, and I'll just say it one last time, and we've got to go. There's been a lot of people that tried this 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, and I think there really is something about timing. And right now, the timing is great, not just for Perry, but for Muskogee and for Okmulgee and for Siloam Springs and for places all around the country, because this is just the trend. This is what America wants. And so, yeah, you've got to jump on board during this time, because if we wait another 5 years, I just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So that's what this show is all about. We want to inspire you, we want to educate you, and try to bring some different ways. Next week we have another special guest that'll be on the show, because next week's a special day, next Thursday, again at 6 o'clock at the Heritage Center.
Yes.
So please come, be willing to ask some questions. It's going to be really casual. Mayor Gordon Johnson is going to get it started, and then I'll kind of go from there, and then we'll have our special guests and be open for questions. And check us out on Flip This Town and see what's happening in Perry and in lots of places, and on Instagram and on Twitter. And there's a lot of fun ways you can get some cool ideas, I think. So, Kayla, thank you
Thank
again
you
for being on the show. And thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.